The planet Valon was a world unlike any other. Its skies shimmered with hues of purple and gold, and its surface glowed faintly under the light of 3 suns. The Zetherians, an advanced alien species, called this place home. For centuries, they had lived in peace, their lives intertwined with technology far beyond what most civilizations could dream of. Among their greatest achievements was the warp drive, a machine capable of bending space and time, allowing faster-than-light travel across galaxies. It was not just a tool. It was the cornerstone of their survival and prosperity. Kale stood, on the observation deck of his flagship, staring out at the swirling colors of the cosmos. As the leader of the Zetherians, he carried the weight of his people's future on his shoulders. The warp drive was more than a technological marvel. It was a secret that had been fiercely guarded for generations. Hidden in deep space installations, and protected by layers of encryption, the Zetherians believed no one outside their civilization would ever uncover it. But now, Kale felt a gnawing unease creeping into his mind. Something had gone wrong. The message came late at night, disrupting the usual calm aboard the ship. An emergency transmission from one of their scout vessels near Saturn's rings. The report was brief, but alarming. Humans had found them. Not only had they discovered the location of a hidden outpost, but they had also managed to intercept one of their smaller ships carrying fragments of the warp core. Despite efforts to destroy the evidence before capture, the humans succeeded in salvaging enough pieces to begin studying the alien technology. Kyle clenched his fist tightly as he listened to the details. Humans, primitive creatures compared to the Zetherians, had somehow stumbled upon their most prized invention. How could this have happened? He turned to face Yuna, his chief scientist, who stood quietly beside him. Her expression mirrored his concern, though there was also a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "We must act quickly," Kale said, his voice sharp with urgency. "If they manage to reverse engineer the warp core, it could destabilize everything we've worked for." Yuna nodded slowly. "Agreed. But we should observe them first, understand how much they know, and how close they are to unlocking its secrets." Kyle hesitated. He trusted Yuna's judgment, but the thought of waiting while humans poked around their sacred technology filled him with dread. Still, he gave the order. Surveillance drones were dispatched to Earth, tasked with monitoring human activity without revealing their presence. Meanwhile, Kale prepared contingency plans ready to strike if necessary. On Earth, Captain Hyan Su sat in the cockpit of his spacecraft, staring at the strange object resting on the table before him. It was small, no larger than a human hand, yet it pulsed faintly with an otherworldly energy. His team had retrieved it from the wreckage of the alien vessel they'd intercepted near Saturn. At first glance, it seemed like nothing more than a piece of debris. But when they brought it back to Earth and began analyzing it, they realized it was far more significant. Yansu leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. This discovery was monumental. If they could figure out how this device worked, humanity might finally take its place among the stars. Yet the implications weighed heavily on him. They had taken something that didn't belong to them. Was it worth the risk? Back at Earth's top research facility, Ji-Wan led a team of scientists working around the clock to unlock the mysteries of the alien artifact. She was known for her brilliance, though some criticized her unconventional methods. To Ji-Wan, rules were meant to be bent or broken if it meant achieving results. When she first examined the fragment, her heart raced with excitement. The design was unlike anything she'd seen before, elegant and intricate, yet somehow intuitive. "This isn't just random technology," Ji-Wan told her team during one of their brainstorming sessions. "There's logic here, patterns we can follow. We just need to think differently." Her words inspired confidence in the group. Day after day, they ran simulations, tested theories, and pieced together fragments of understanding. Slowly, but surely, they began to unravel the principles behind the alien warp drive. What started as a vague idea became clearer with each passing hour. And then, almost overnight, everything clicked into place. Ji-Wan stared at the glowing holographic model of the reconstructed warp core. It was breathtaking. Humanity had done the impossible. They had not only understood the alien tech, but improved upon it. The new design promised speeds faster than even the original Zetherian version. News of their success spread quickly, igniting celebrations across the globe. For the first time, humanity dared to imagine itself as equals among the stars. But not everyone shared in the joy. Hyun-soo couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing with fire. Every advancement brought them closer to greatness, but also closer to danger. He confided in Ji-won one evening, voicing his concerns about potential consequences. "They're going to come for us," Hyun-soo said, his tone grim. "When they find out what we've done, they won't hesitate to retaliate." Ji-won sighed, leaning against the lab counter. "Maybe, but we can't stop now. We've opened a door, Hyun-soo. Whether we're ready or not, the universe is waiting." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Strange signals had begun interfering with Earth's communication systems. Initial scans suggested they were coming from somewhere beyond the solar system. A fleet of unknown origin was approaching Earth. Kale watched the footage from the surveillance drones, his jaw tightening as he saw humans interacting with the warp core fragments. They weren't just observing. They were learning. Faster than anyone could have predicted, they were mastering the technology. Yuna stood beside him, her eyes wide with awe. "They're incredible," she murmured. "No other species has ever achieved so much in such a short time." Kyle shot her a sharp look. "Incredible doesn't mean trustworthy. If they misuse this power, it could endanger us all." Yuna didn't argue. She knew Kyle was right, to some extent. But deep down, she couldn't help but admire humanity's ingenuity. Their determination reminded her of her own people centuries ago, before complacency set in. Perhaps, she thought, there was something to be gained from this encounter. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo and Ji-won braced themselves for what was coming. The mysterious fleet loomed closer with every passing hour. Humanity had taken its first step toward the stars. But at what cost? Only time would tell whether their newfound knowledge would lead to salvation or destruction. The research facility on Earth buzzed with energy. Scientists moved quickly between workstations, their faces lit by the glow of holographic screens and blinking monitors. The air was thick with anticipation as humanity stood on the brink of something extraordinary. Ji-won, the lead physicist, paced back and forth in the center of the room, her mind racing faster than the calculations running through the computers around her. It had only been weeks since they first laid eyes on the alien warp core fragment. Now, thanks to countless hours of relentless effort, humanity had not just understood its principles, they had surpassed them. The new design Ji-won's team had created was sleeker, more efficient, and capable of speeds far greater than anything the Etherians had achieved. For many, this breakthrough felt like a miracle. But for Ji-won, it was proof of humanity's boundless potential. "This changes everything," she said aloud during one of their late-night meetings. Her voice carried both excitement and gravity. "We're no longer limited to our own solar system. With this technology, we can explore galaxies. We can meet other civilizations. This is our chance to join the stars." Her words resonated deeply with everyone in the room. They all knew what this meant, not just for science, but for humanity itself. For centuries, people dreamed of traveling beyond Earth, of finding answers to questions about life, existence, and the universe. Now those dreams were within reach. Yet, amidst the celebration, there was an undercurrent of unease. Captain Hyun-soo, who often visited the facility to check on progress, couldn't shake the feeling that their rapid success came at a price. "They're going to notice," Hyun-soo said one evening, pulling Ji-won aside after another round of tests. His tone was low, almost a whisper, though the lab was nearly empty. "If we keep pushing forward like this, they'll know we've taken their tech and improved it. Do you think they'll let us get away with that?" Ji-won hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. She didn't want to admit it, but she shared his fears. Still, she refused to let doubt cloud her vision. "What choice do we have?" she replied firmly. "They hid their technology from us. They didn't share it willingly. If we wait for permission, we'll never move forward. We have to take risks if we want to grow." Hyun-soo sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He admired Ji-won's determination, but he also knew the stakes were high. Humanity wasn't ready for war, not against a species as advanced as the Etherians. And yet he couldn't deny the truth in her words. Staying stagnant wasn't an option either. So for now, he kept his concerns to himself and focused on preparing Earth's defenses, just in case. Meanwhile, light years away, Kale watched the surveillance footage with growing frustration. The humans weren't just learning. They were excelling. Every day they grew closer to mastering the very technology he had spent decades protecting. It was infuriating, yes, but also unsettling. How could such a primitive species achieve so much so quickly? Yuna stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. Unlike Kale, she wasn't entirely upset by what she saw. In fact, part of her was impressed. Humans worked together seamlessly, combining individual strengths to solve problems. Their creativity and adaptability reminded her of the Zetherians' early days, before complacency set in. Back then, her people had been explorers, dreamers, innovators. Now they clung to old ways, afraid of change. "They're remarkable," Una said softly, breaking the silence. "Look at how they collaborate, how they think outside the box. That's something we've lost." Kale shot her a sharp glance. "You admire them, after what they've done?" "I admire their potential," Una corrected. "They could be allies, Kale. Imagine what we could accomplish together." Kale shook his head, dismissing the idea outright. "Allies? They stole from us, they violated our trust. No matter how clever they are, they can't be trusted." Una didn't argue further. She knew better than to challenge Kale directly, especially when emotions ran high. But deep down she couldn't help but wonder if he was wrong. Perhaps humanity's boldness wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity. An opportunity to reignite the spark of innovation that had once defined their own civilization. Back on Earth, Jiwan and her team completed the final adjustments to their prototype warp engine. It was smaller than the original alien design, more compact and efficient. When activated, it hummed softly, emitting a faint blue glow that filled the testing chamber. Everyone held their breath as Jiwan initiated the first trial run. The machine powered up smoothly, creating a miniature warp bubble that rippled through space-time. "It works," Jiwan whispered, her voice trembling with awe. Around her, cheers erupted. Some scientists hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. Others simply stared, unable to believe what they had achieved. In that moment, humanity took its first step toward becoming an interstellar species. But the celebration was short-lived. As the team reviewed the data from the test, strange anomalies began appearing in Earth's communication systems. At first, they dismissed it as interference caused by the warp field. But when the disturbances persisted, even after shutting down the prototype, alarm bells started ringing. Hyun-Soo arrived at the facility just as technicians scrambled to identify the source of the problem. His instincts kicked in immediately. "This isn't natural," he said, examining the readouts. "Something, or someone, is out there." Sure enough, scans revealed a massive fleet approaching Earth's solar system. The ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, sleek and ominous, radiating power. There was no mistaking who they belonged to. The Zetherians had come. News of the approaching fleet spread quickly, sending shockwaves through governments and military forces worldwide. Emergency meetings were held, strategies debated. Hyun-Soo found himself thrust into a leadership role, coordinating Earth's defense efforts. Though he doubted they could match the Zetherians' firepower, he refused to give up without a fight. "We may not have their experience," he told his team during a briefing. "But we have something they don't: adaptability. We've already proven we can learn and innovate faster than anyone expects. Let's use that to our advantage." Preparations began in earnest. Engineers worked tirelessly to integrate the new warp technology into Earth's fleet, hoping to level the playing field. Pilots trained for high-speed maneuvers, while strategists devised unconventional tactics designed to exploit any weaknesses in the Zetherian ships. Every resource was poured into ensuring humanity's survival. Amidst the chaos, Jiwan continued refining the warp engine. She knew time was running out, but she couldn't stop tinkering. Each improvement brought them closer to matching, if not surpassing, their adversaries. Late one night, as she adjusted the engine's stabilizers, Yuna's face appeared on a nearby monitor. "Dr. Jiwan," Yuna began, her tone calm but urgent. "I need to speak with you." Jiwan froze, startled. She hadn't expected direct contact from the Zetherians. "Who are you?" she asked cautiously. "My name is Yuna. I'm a scientist like you, and I believe we can help each other." For a moment, Jiwan considered cutting the transmission. This could easily be a trap. But curiosity got the better of her. "Help each other how?" she asked. Yuna explained her admiration for humanity's ingenuity and her belief that cooperation might benefit both species. She offered to share insights about the warp drive's limitations and suggest improvements. In return, she hoped Jiwan would advocate for peace instead of conflict. Jiwan listened carefully, weighing her options. Could she trust this stranger? Or was this a ploy to gain access to Earth's advancements? Before she could decide, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Zetherian fleet had entered Earth's orbit. "They're here," Jiwan said grimly, ending the call. Outside, the sky darkened as alien ships descended, casting long shadows over the planet below. Humanity's greatest challenge had arrived, and there was no turning back. The sky above Earth turned an eerie shade of gray as the Zetherian fleet loomed closer. Their ships were massive, sleek, and intimidating, glowing faintly with a cold blue light that seemed to pierce through the clouds. Humanity watched in awe and fear as these alien vessels positioned themselves around the planet like predators circling their prey. Captain Hyun-Soo stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, his hands gripping the edge of the control panel. His heart pounded in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. He knew panic wouldn't help anyone. Around him, his crew worked furiously, preparing for what was sure to be humanity's greatest test. The ship's engines hummed softly, powered by the newly improved warp technology Jiwan's team had developed. It was their only hope against the overwhelming force now bearing down on them. "Sir, they're hailing us," one of the communications officers called out. Hyun-Soo nodded. "Patch it through." A holographic image flickered to life in the center of the bridge. Standing tall and imposing was Kale, leader of the Zytherians. His expression was stern, his eyes sharp and unyielding. Behind him, rows of soldiers stood at attention, their presence adding to the tension in the air. "You have stolen what is ours," Kale began, his voice deep and commanding. "You have taken our technology and twisted it for your own purposes. This cannot stand. Return what you have taken or face the consequences." Hyun-Soo took a step forward, meeting Kale's gaze without flinching. Though he felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, he spoke clearly and firmly. "We didn't ask for your technology," he said. "But we found it, and we've made it better. It belongs to us now. We won't give it back." Kale's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, silence filled the room. Then, he let out a low growl. "Your arrogance will be your downfall." Before Hyun-Soo could respond, the transmission cut off. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Zetherians had launched their attack. The battle began with a deafening roar. Energy beams lanced through space, striking Earth's orbital stations and defense satellites. Explosions lit up the darkness, sending shockwaves rippling across the atmosphere. On the ground, people looked up at the fiery spectacle, their faces etched with terror. No one had ever imagined humanity would face such a threat so soon after stepping into the stars. Hyun-Soo barked orders to his crew, his mind racing as he tried to anticipate the enemy's next move. "Evasive maneuvers," he shouted. "Keep them off balance." Earth ships darted through the chaos, their movements erratic but purposeful. Thanks to Jiwan's modifications, the warp engines allowed them to perform feats no one thought possible. They zipped between Zetherian vessels, dodging attacks while launching counterstrikes. At first, the aliens seemed caught off guard by this unpredictable behavior. But they quickly adapted, their superior numbers and firepower beginning to overwhelm Earth's defenses. Back at the research facility, Ji-Won worked tirelessly alongside her team. She knew the outcome of the battle depended not just on bravery, but on innovation. Every second counted. If they could improve the warp engines further, if they could push the limits of what was possible, they might still turn the tide. "We need more power," Ji-Won muttered, staring at the readouts on her screen. "If we can boost the engine's output, we can create larger warp fields. That'll give us an edge." One of her assistants hesitated. "But if we overload the system, we risk destroying the entire fleet." Ji-Won didn't hesitate. "Then, we make sure it doesn't happen. Trust me." Her determination inspired the others, and together they poured all their energy into making the necessary adjustments. Sweat dripped from their brows as they rewired circuits, recalibrated systems, and fine-tuned algorithms. Time seemed to blur as they worked, the sounds of explosions outside fading into the background. Meanwhile, aboard the Zytherian flagship, Yuna watched the battle unfold with growing unease. She admired humanity's resilience, their refusal to back down even when faced with overwhelming odds. But she also feared for her own people. War was never clean or simple. It left scars that lasted for generations. And yet, here they were, locked in conflict because of pride and fear. "I can't stay silent any longer," Yuna whispered to herself. Making sure no one was watching, she slipped away from the main command center and activated a private communication channel. Her message was brief but urgent. "Dr. Ji-Won, listen carefully," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Kale plans to disable your warp engines remotely. He's targeting the core frequency. Block it before it's too late. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Ji-won staring at the blank monitor in stunned silence. For a moment, she questioned whether this was a trick. But something in Yuna's tone, the desperation, the sincerity, convinced her it was genuine. Without wasting another second, Ji-won relayed the warning to Hyun-soo and his fleet. "This changes everything," Hyun-soo said grimly after receiving the message. "If they disable our warp engines, we're finished. Spread the word. Adjust the frequencies immediately." The order went out to every ship in Earth's fleet. Engineers scrambled to modify the warp cores, shielding them from the Zetherian interference. It was a risky maneuver, one that required precise timing and coordination, but somehow they pulled it off. Just as Kale initiated the signal to cripple their engines, Earth's ships remained operational, continuing their relentless assault. Kale slammed his fist against the console in frustration. "How are they still functioning?" he demanded, glaring at his subordinates. None of them dared answer. Yuna stepped forward cautiously. "Perhaps it's time to reconsider our approach," she suggested, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "They've proven they're capable of more than we anticipated. Maybe cooperation is the better path." Kale's glare shifted to her, and for a moment it seemed like he might lash out. Instead, he turned away, his jaw clenched tightly. "We'll see how long they last," he muttered. As the battle raged on, both sides sustained heavy losses. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, debris scattering across the void. Pilots fought valiantly, their courage shining even in the face of death. Hyun-soo led by example, weaving his vessel through the chaos with unmatched skill. His unconventional tactics kept the Zetherians guessing, buying precious time for Ji-won's team to implement their final adjustments. Finally, the breakthrough came. Ji-won activated a modified warp field that enveloped several Zetherian ships, disrupting their propulsion systems. Caught off guard, the alien vessels slowed to a halt, unable to maneuver effectively. Seeing their advantage, Earth's fleet pressed forward, forcing the remaining enemies to retreat. When the dust settled, the Zetherians withdrew, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Though battered and bruised, humanity had emerged victorious, for, now, Hyun-soo leaned against the wall of the bridge, exhaustion washing over him. He glanced at the screen showing the receding alien fleet and exhaled deeply. "We did it," he said quietly. But there was no joy in his voice, only relief, and a lingering sense of dread. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. At the research facility, Ji-won stared out the window at the damaged remains of Earth's orbital defenses. The cost of their victory weighed heavily on her shoulders. She thought about Yuna's warning and wondered if peace might still be possible. Or had they crossed a line that could never be uncrossed? For now, humanity had survived. But as the Yuan-dar sun rose over a scarred planet, casting its light on the wreckage above, it was clear that the road ahead would be anything but easy. The aftermath of the battle left Earth in a state of both triumph and mourning. Smoke drifted lazily into the sky from damaged orbital stations, and debris from destroyed ships floated silently in orbit like ghostly remnants of humanity's first clash with an alien species. The streets below were filled with quiet reflection as people processed what had happened. Humanity had won, for now, but the cost was heavy. Lives were lost, resources depleted, and fear lingered in the hearts of many. Captain Hyun-soo stood on the deck of his flagship staring out at the stars. His uniform was torn, and dark circles under his eyes betrayed the toll of sleepless nights. He felt pride in the courage his crew had shown, but it was overshadowed by guilt. They had fought valiantly, yes, but at what cost? Could they really afford another battle if the Zetherians returned? Inside the research facility, Ji-won worked tirelessly alongside her team to repair and improve their warp engines. Despite their victory, she knew they couldn't rest. The Zetherians would not give up easily. If anything, their retreat only meant they were regrouping, planning their next move. Ji-won refused to let humanity fall behind again. Every moment counted. "We need to prepare for round 2, Ji-won said firmly during one of their meetings. Her voice carried authority, though fatigue lined her face. "If they come back stronger, and they will, we have to be ready." Baruto, words resonated deeply with the scientists around her. They all understood the stakes. For days, they pored over data, running simulations and testing new configurations for the warp drive. Each adjustment brought them closer to perfection, making the technology faster, more stable, and harder to disrupt. Yet, even as progress mounted, Ji-won couldn't shake the feeling that war wasn't the answer. Fighting fire with fire might protect Earth today, but it wouldn't secure its future. Meanwhile, aboard the Zytherian flagship, Kale paced furiously across the command deck. His anger simmered just beneath the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. How could this have happened? Humans, primitive, untrained humans, had managed to repel his forces. It was humiliating. Worse still, Yuna's betrayal gnawed at him. She had sabotaged key systems during the battle, weakening their position and giving humanity the upper hand. "Why did you do it?" Kyle demanded, confronting Yuna in private. His tone was sharp, accusatory. Yuna met his gaze without flinching. "Because I believe we're wrong," she replied calmly. "This isn't about protecting our technology anymore. This is about pride. We're letting arrogance blind us to the bigger picture." Kale clenched his fists, struggling to contain his rage. "You think I don't see the bigger picture? Those humans are reckless, dangerous. If we let them keep advancing unchecked, they'll destroy everything. And what makes you think we're any different?" Yuna shot back. Her voice remained steady, but there was a fierceness in her eyes. "We've become stagnant, Kale. Look at us. When was the last time we truly innovated? When was the last time we pushed ourselves beyond what we thought was possible? Instead, we cling to old ways, afraid of change, afraid of losing control." Kyle opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Deep down, he knew she was right, at least partially. The Zytherians had grown complacent over centuries of dominance. Their once thriving culture of exploration and discovery had faded into rigid adherence to tradition. But admitting that aloud felt like surrender. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A transmission had been intercepted, a message sent from Earth. Kale listened intently as Ji-won's voice echoed through the speakers. "To the Zytherians," she began, her tone measured but firm. "We don't want war. What happened was not an act of aggression, it was self-defense. Your actions forced our hand. But now we have a choice. We can continue down this path of destruction, or we can find a way to coexist. Together, we can achieve greatness." Kale's expression darkened. "Propaganda," he muttered bitterly, trying to make themselves look noble. But Yuna saw something else in the message. Hope. Humanity wasn't just flexing its newfound strength, it was offering an olive branch. For the first time since the conflict began, she allowed herself to believe peace might be possible. Back on Earth, Ji-won waited anxiously for a response. She knew her words carried risk. If misinterpreted, they could provoke another attack. But she also knew diplomacy was humanity's best chance at survival. As hours passed without reply, doubt crept in. Had she made a mistake? Then, unexpectedly, the Zytherians responded. Kyle appeared on screen, his demeanor less hostile than before. "You claim you seek peace," he said slowly, his voice tinged with skepticism. "Yet you refuse to return what is rightfully ours." Ji-won stepped forward, meeting his gaze head-on. "What's rightfully yours is no longer yours alone. We've built upon your foundation, improved it. That knowledge belongs to everyone who contributed to it, including us." Kyle hesitated, clearly conflicted. On one side, his pride screamed for revenge. On the other, logic whispered that prolonged warfare would benefit no one. Finally, after a long pause, he spoke. "Very well. Let us discuss terms. But know this. If you betray our trust again, there will be consequences." Negotiations were tense but productive. Both sides approached the table cautiously, each wary of the other's intentions. Yuna played a crucial role, acting as mediator between Kale and Ji-won. She argued passionately for collaboration, emphasizing how much both civilizations could gain from working together. Slowly, painfully, common ground emerged. Humanity agreed to share their advancements with these Zytherians, provided they received equal access to Zytherian knowledge. In return, the Zytherians pledged to halt all hostilities and assist in repairing Earth's damaged infrastructure. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As agreements were finalized, Hyun-soo found himself reflecting on the journey that had led them here. From the moment they discovered the alien tech to their desperate fight for survival, every step had been fraught with uncertainty. Now, standing on the brink of a fragile truce, he felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or technology, it was its ability to adapt, to learn and to grow. Yuna defected to Earth shortly after the treaty was signed, seeking asylum and offering her expertise to help bridge the gap between the two species. Her defection caused outrage among some of her people, but others quietly admired her courage. Together with Jiwon, she established the first joint research facility dedicated to exploring the universe beyond the stars. Hyun-soo retired from active duty, choosing instead to mentor young pilots eager to explore the cosmos. Though scars remained from the battle, humanity looked toward the horizon with renewed determination. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time, they weren't walking it alone. As Jiwon stood aboard Earth's newly upgraded warp ship preparing for its maiden voyage, she glanced at Yuna, who smiled warmly beside her. "This is just the beginning," Yuna said softly. "Together, we'll reach places neither of our species could have dreamed of alone." Jiwon nodded, her heart swelling with anticipation. Beyond the viewport, the infinite expanse of space stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries, waiting to be uncovered. For better or worse, humanity had taken its first true step into the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. The joint research facility became a symbol of hope, a place where two vastly different species worked side by side to unlock the secrets of the universe. Built on Earth's moon, far from the chaos and noise of daily life, it was designed to be neutral ground, a sanctuary for collaboration. Its sleek silver walls gleamed under the pale light of the sun, and its laboratories hummed with energy as scientists from both humanity and the Zytherians poured their efforts into advancing warp technology. Jiwon and Yuna spent most of their days together, bouncing ideas off each other and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Jiwon admired Yuna's deep understanding of theoretical physics, while Yuna marveled at Jiwon's relentless creativity. Their partnership became the backbone of the project, inspiring others to overcome their differences and focus on shared goals. "We're not just building faster ships," Jiwon said one evening as they reviewed data in the main lab. "We're creating a future where no one has to fight over resources or territory. If we can travel farther, explore more, there's enough out there for everyone." Yuna nodded thoughtfully. "That's always been our dream too, to expand, beyond limits. But somewhere along the way we lost sight of why we started. Maybe working with you humans will remind us." Their conversations often drifted beyond science, touching on philosophy, culture, and even personal dreams. Over time, trust grew between them, not just as colleagues but as friends. This bond helped ease tensions among the rest of the team, proving that cooperation was possible despite their histories. Back on Earth, Captain Hyun-soo watched these developments with quiet satisfaction. Though he had stepped away from active duty, he remained deeply involved in shaping humanity's role in this new era. He mentored young pilots, sharing stories of his experiences during the battle and teaching them the importance of adaptability and teamwork. His students listened intently, eager to follow in his footsteps as explorers of the stars. "You must remember," Hyun-soo told them during one training session, "the galaxy isn't ours to conquer. It's ours to understand. Respect it, respect those who live within it, and you'll find your place." Meanwhile, Kyle struggled to adjust to the changing dynamics within his own people. The truce with humanity had sparked debates across Velan, dividing opinions sharply. Some saw it as a betrayal of their values, while others viewed it as an opportunity for renewal. To maintain stability, Kyle focused on emphasizing the benefits of collaboration, improved warp drives, access to untapped resources, and the chance to rediscover the spirit of exploration that once defined the Zytherians. Still, old habits died hard. Suspicion lingered among many Zytherians, fueled by memories of the recent conflict. Kale knew it would take time, perhaps generations, for true harmony to emerge. But he also recognized that progress couldn't wait. Humanity's rapid advancements served as both a challenge and a reminder. Stagnation led only to decline. As months passed, the joint facility achieved breakthrough after breakthrough. Together, Jiwon and Yuna developed warp fields capable of carrying entire fleets safely through space-time distortions. They discovered methods to stabilize wormholes, opening shortcuts to distant regions of the galaxy. Each success brought them closer to realizing their ultimate goal: interstellar travel accessible to all intelligent species. One day, Jiwon stood before a massive holographic map of the Milky Way, her eyes shining with excitement. "Look at this," she said, gesturing toward a cluster of stars near the edge of the galaxy. These systems are untouched, unexplored. Imagine what we might find there. Yuna smiled, standing beside her. New worlds, new civilizations. Maybe even answers to questions we haven't asked yet. It wasn't long before the first expedition was planned. A fleet of ships equipped with the latest warp technology, prepared to embark on a journey deeper into space than either species had ever ventured. Pilots, engineers, and researchers from both Earth and Veylan volunteered eagerly, driven by curiosity and a shared sense of purpose. Hyunsu was chosen to lead the mission, a decision that filled him with pride and nerves. As he addressed the crew before departure, his voice carried both confidence and humility. "This is a historic moment," he said, looking around at the diverse faces gathered before him. "We represent not just our own people, but the promise of unity. Let us honor that promise by exploring wisely, learning humbly, and respecting every corner of the cosmos we encounter." The launch was broadcast live across Earth and Veylan, watched by billions. Cheers erupted as the fleet soared into the sky, leaving behind a trail of shimmering light. For the first time, humanity and the Zitherians moved forward as partners, bound by a common destiny. Weeks turned into months as the expedition traveled farther than anyone had imagined possible. They encountered breathtaking phenomena, nebulae, glowing like cosmic jewels, planets with atmospheres unlike anything seen before, and ancient ruins hinting at civilizations long gone. Each discovery sparked wonder and inspired further exploration. But it wasn't without challenges. Technical malfunctions, unexpected gravitational anomalies, and tense moments of miscommunication tested the crew's resolve. Yet every obstacle was met with determination and teamwork. Slowly, barriers dissolved, replaced by mutual respect and camaraderie. When the fleet finally returned home, they brought with them not just data and samples but stories of triumph and connection. Their journey proved that cooperation could yield results far greater than competition. Both Earth and Veylan celebrated the mission's success, marking it as the dawn of a new age. Ji-Wan stood on the observation deck of the lead ship, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. Beside her, Yuna mirrored her posture, their reflections merging in the glass. Neither spoke for a while, simply taking in the beauty of the universe stretching endlessly before them. "We've come so far," Ji-Wan said softly, breaking the silence. "And yet, it feels like we're only just beginning." Yuna nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Yes, but now, we walk this path together." In that moment, surrounded by infinite possibilities, Ji-Wan felt a profound sense of peace. Humanity had taken its first steps into the stars, guided by courage, curiosity, and the belief that the future belonged to those willing to reach for it. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it united, not as rivals, but as explorers, dreamers, and pioneers of a brighter tomorrow.